Hello everyone. So today's video I thought I would just show you my little travel altar. I don't have any tarot cards in this because it's so small, but what I would usually take traveling with me if I was to need a tarot deck is the Tarot the Complete Kit, which I've just done a video on. This is my first ever tarot deck, or possibly my Wild Unknown Tarot, and I'm making a bag for this box because the box is pretty banged up now, but this is a small version of that. So that's kind of what I'd take tarot wise. So I just thought I'd get into it. This is a tin I got on holiday. It had, I think it was like Sweet Sin or something, but yeah, so it's a camper van. I really love to travel and I don't get to do it very much, so this little camper van just reminds me that I need to take time sometimes to just see the world a bit more. So yeah, this is the tin that I'm using, and so then, as you can see, first off I have two little cloths in this tin. This little star, purple star, velvet cloth, which I've had I don't know if you can hear my dog snoring actually. I've had this piece of cloth since I was about maybe 7, and it's just, I just love it. It's like Harry Potter to me. My favourite colour is purple, is either purple or green. So yeah, I like this little cloth. So I then have a little bag of kind of incensey bits. So if we go into it, I have some bay leaves. I use a lot of bay leaves for sort of quick, simple spells. I'll write things that I want to happen, or things that I want to banish in my life, on the bay leaf, and then I will burn it in my cauldron of incense, which I'm going to move the camera up slightly. There it is right now. I'm burning some incense sticks in it. So yeah, that's what you can see off to the side there. So yeah, I have some bay leaves. I also have some incense sticks that I've kind of just chopped in half, so that they fit in the box. And then I don't always get, I don't know if you can see those, I don't always get to have my morning coffee, and so I just carry some little coffee beans with me, just to kind of get out and smell, because coffee really does wake me up in the morning, and I'm not a very happy bunny if I don't get coffee. So yeah, so that's what's in this little bag of bits and bobs here. Okay, so then I have, and these are a bit dusty actually, I might need to replace them. I have two little just plain candles, just for the fire element. I have a little tree of life. Ooh. I have a little tree of life that I bought, and you can actually change the little poppers, but I really liked this, so and the green aspect, so it kind of comes with me. Too, I wear that when I'm doing ritual, when I'm away. Then I have a little smudge stick. I made this myself. It's as you can see, it's from a bigger smudge stick that fell apart, and so I've just rewrapped it with a few bits of sage that was from my focus, there we go, that was from my garden. So I've got that, and then just this little kind of shell, just to put the incense on whilst I'm spreading it around. I'll show you this in a second. And I've got some little matches. I also carry around a lighter with me. Usually it's this one. It will be attached with a rubber band to this tin. So yeah, it's just a match. But then this also has a little torch. So it's kind of handy when I'm traveling and don't have a torch or whatever. I can use the lighter. But otherwise I have these tiny little ship lighters, which reminds me of my grandparents. They always used to have little lighters when they used to smoke little matches when the ship brand when I was little. So that always kind of reminds me of my ancestral roots, and that just has some matches in it. Then I have little bits of paper for spell work, just in case I need to write anything down that I don't want to burn on a bay leaf or something. Then I've always got a few little bits of parchment paper. There I have a little spray bottle of spring water. So I actually went in my hometown near the beach. There is actually a freshwater spring, and that's just got a bit of that in it, which natural spring water to cleanse. So that's that. I have some string, again just for spell work, in case I want to do a spell with knot work, or I want to make a bracelet or something. I'm quite handy with string for making friendship bracelets and things like that. So I've got string if I need it. Whoops. Then I have I have 4 candles, gold for the god and silver for the goddess. Yeah, so I just have 4, 1 for each element, and then one of the big ones will be for spirit. I then have these little bottles of herbs. As you can see, I'm not very good at writing on these little labels. So I have mugwort, I have vervain, can't go anywhere without a bit of sage, so we've got some sage, some salt, just some sea salt, white sea salt. I do have black sea salt, but I haven't put any of that in here. I've got some mint. These have just kind of come from my herb garden, or just the ones the little shakers you can buy at the supermarket. And then lavender, which has come from my garden. So yeah, little bottles. I've got a few of those. I don't use herbs as much as I'd like to in my spell work, but I do carry them around on the off chance. The sage I use the most, really. And then I've got this other cloth at the bottom, and this is cow. It's not actual real cow, because I'm vegetarian and would never have anything leather or anything real cow, but it's cow print. And again, I've had this the same amount of time as I've had the purple star cloth. So yeah, depending on what sort of spell I'm using would depend on what cloth I would want to use. And then finally, I've just got this little kind of, it was loving thoughts, memories. You stick this with your ancestors by their grave or wherever. But this is Footprints, and it's a very special poem. It's about God, and I don't believe in God, but I believe that you can kind of bring the message, take the message in whichever way you like, really. So I see God as just the higher being, the higher, like the god and the goddess is the higher power, the higher energy, essentially, the universal energy. And so that's that. I'd keep that in the bottom, in memory of my nan. And then this is just the tin. So the tins, you get the little wheels and the window there. So yeah, that's kind of my travel altar and how it is. I'm just going to go through this little bag now, which has all my little crystals in it and offerings and things. So just to empty it all out. So I have this little organza bag that it all kind of stays in. I then have a smaller bag, which I'll go through in a second, but I do have a few crystals. So I have just a nice quartz point. It's a tiny one, so not very big, but it fits perfectly in this. A little smoky quartz point. And I love staring into this. It's just beautiful for meditation purposes. I have a little twig, which actually comes from the cherry tree that my nan is cremated under. And so that's my little kind of wand if I was to choose to use one. I have all of these little kind of, so these are actually halfpennies, half pennies. So they're not actually in, or some of them are actual legal tender. So this is a 2p, and it just has 2p coin, and it just has a pentacle drawn with Sharpie, silver Sharpie, and I will put this down as an offering to for specific things, like if I'm taking something from a tree, then I might put one of these down, or if I'm giving an offering to an ancestor. These coins have all come from my nan or great nan, both of which have passed now, and so I just, yeah, so these are all half pennies. Don't know if you can see those. So it's the new penny, and it's so it's worth half a penny, and these aren't in use anymore. So yeah, I'll leave these by her tree when I go and see the tree, or in the garden maybe. Yeah, so they're just offerings that I use. They're not very much, but they oh, and this is a proper, just a proper penny that you can still use today, but no one ever really seems to use them anymore. So yeah, and then I've got a few different stones. I believe this is lace agate, I want to say. It might be, it might not be. I'm not very good with with crystal names. I need to get better at it. This is red jasper, citrine quartz, rose quartz. I love to have a bit of rose quartz with me. I'm not actually quite sure. I don't know whether this might just be, I think it's an agate of some form, or maybe a white quartz or something like that. So this is moss agate. Again, don't quote me on these, guys. I'm really not very good at this. I'm not sure what this is. I think this is just a stone, but I found it on the beach, and it's not glass, like beach glass, but I'm not sure what it is. But I found it on the beach, and it called to me, so I picked it up. And then this is a piece of very, very dark amethyst. So that's kind of what I keep when I travel. They're just small stones. And then in this little tiny bag, this is the exciting part, guys. I really am proud of this this kind of little, I've put this all together myself, and so I'm really kind of proud of it. This is actually a little, if I can get into it, this is actually a little bag made from an old sari. I bought this when I was in London, living in London, and so I'm just going to pour all this out now. Don't know what's going to come out first, so we'll just pull it all out. Okay, so I've got I make polymer clay charms and rune sets and all sorts. So I'm going to do a separate video on my big rune set, but this is kind of, so I've made all of these little things from clay. So I've got a little altar tile which has is sort of galaxy coloured, but has wood grain imprinted into it, and that usually will house my little incense holder. So I made this just out of a bit of gold clay. These are for my elemental candles, and so they just sit in those like that. And again, this is all just made out of clay. So there's 4 of those. I then have a little goddess. She's just made out of clay, very simple, and she has a bit of garnet, a garnet stone, to help with drawing away negativity and anxiety. I have just a basic pentacle, and then the elemental symbols are all there in little tiles, and then my pride and joy, and I'm very proud of these because they took me a while, they took me a fairly long time to make, just because of how small they are. So these are little tiny runes, and so you have all of the little kind of runes there for using on my travels, which I know I could bring my big set along and it wouldn't take up much more room, but I really do love these and working with them. So yeah, that's kind of the entirety of my little travel altar. As I say, I do then bring a set of a tarot card set. I don't have an oracle set yet, but I do want to buy a small travel oracle deck as well as a big oracle deck to use in my everyday practice. But until then, and I will update you guys when I do find the perfect travel tarot and oracle decks for me. Until then, this is kind of just my little divination set. I do also have a little pendulum that I can bring into the set, but I do tend to just use my little necklace, this guy, if I want to bring in to need to use divination in the form of a pendulum. I will just tend to use this, but I do now I've been making pendulums for my shop, and so I do have little travel pendulums. I do love the shine of that. Look how pretty that is. Okay, I'll stop now, otherwise I'll be here forever. But yes, so that's kind of my little travel altar. It is really tiny. I do travel light. I don't like to take big suitcases with me or big boxes of things, so I do tend to just take very minimal stuff. And it all fits into this really kind of small, oh, sorry about that, sorry about the noise, this really small tin, which just, yeah, is just a camper, and I love that it's just chilling on the bottom. So yeah, it fits. It's kind of just a bit bigger than, let's see if I can pull out a bit. Just a bit bigger than my hand, and so it fits in a carry-on pretty well, although some of the bits in here, if I was to go abroad, wouldn't be allowed to come with me on a carry-on, so then I'd have to change. But I don't tend to travel abroad very often, so it doesn't matter too much. I tend to take this with me whenever I go on trips in the UK mostly. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys, and as always, go in peace, blessed be, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.